Hello YouTube, and welcome to part 1 of my 4-part Mustang series where I build and paint the resin cockpit. This was the easiest of the resin sets I used, which also include a gun bay and the engine, mostly due to everything fitting together very nicely with minimal sanding. Even the fuselage halves don't have interior cockpit details molded onto them. They come as separate pieces, so when there's less sanding, everything fits together better. Since the model, as well as the aftermarket parts, were all manufactured by Edward, things go together really nicely. I use 3 tools for cutting and cleaning each resin piece: the razor saw for cutting apart large sections, sandpaper for cleaning up the cut, and then a hobby knife for some of the fine cutting, like cleaning out some of the extra flash around this handle. Since there wasn't a lot of metallic photo etch parts and most everything was already dark gray, I skipped the primer and went straight to the base coat. This highlighting mix isn't anything special or specific. I just found a similar green color, which is lighter than my original green, and mix a little bit of it up in my airbrush cup. You could use white, but finding a lighter shade of the color you already used helps keep it from getting too much contrast. The paint brushes I'm using here are Flexophile brand, and I typically use either a 5/0 or a 10/0 for these small details. One of the questions I get a lot is, do you thin your Tamiya paint when you use it on a paintbrush? The answer is yes, and I use Mr. Color leveling thinner. I also use that same thinner when I spray it through an airbrush. So why don't I just buy all acrylic paint to use with my brush? Simple. I don't want to spend the money. I've already got a full set of most of the Tamiya colors that I use frequently, so when it comes to the acrylics, I've bought some of the real basic colors: red, yellow, black, white, and I get by with that. Over time, maybe I'll build up a full set, but it just hurts too much to go out and spend all that money all at once. When I'm working with the lead wire, or any wire for that matter, I'll first dip one end of it into some fast drying super glue and then quickly set it in place on the model. In this scene, I have already sprayed a coat of all-clad aqua gloss, which is why the parts are so shiny and what allows the wash to disperse along the panel lines and indentations. If I didn't spray a gloss coat first, the wash would seep into the flat coat of paint and it would be harder to clean up and remove the excess. The instrument panel came with a nice rounded glossy finish over the dials, so I ended up not adding any extra clear gloss. It already looked glassy enough. I didn't show this, but I used a matte varnish coat of Winsor & Newton Galleria to dull the finish. I found that Aqua Gloss and Galleria are both excellent choices for gloss coat and the matte finish, and I've been using them on quite a few builds lately. By the way, I just taped the large cockpit pieces together for the photographs. When I put them in the fuselage, I found it a lot easier to do it piece by piece rather than one large part all at once. At this point, only about 1/3 of my audience has made it this far in the video, so congratulations, you're in the top 33%. Also, either check the video description or be on the lookout for my videos on how to build the gun bay, how to build the engine, and then my final video on how I made the entire P51-D Mustang.